All right, good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here today, Today's Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com, where we have on, again, for the second time, Kelly Carter, who is moving and grooving, which I love. She and her co-founders have created a really cool app that we want to dive into. I'm not going to give it away quite yet, but I'm super excited to have you on again. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm truly just so excited to be here today.
Yeah, awesome. So, as always, we start the show with gratitude. I believe gratitude can change the world. I've been reading a lot lately about the kind of the biophysical, biomechanical, biological relationship of the mind and the body. And what gratitude can do for us. And so I probably should do a show on it because I think it's pretty fascinating. Just being in gratitude, what it can do for the mindset, but then it radiates, right? It truly is energy based. And I think it's just so important, no matter where you are in life, to just find the things to be grateful for. So, Kelly, what are you grateful for?
I am truly grateful to be able to wake up and show up to a career that means so much to me, and just changing the world and making the world a better place, even if it's just a little bit every single day. I'm just so grateful that I get to wake up and do that.
I have to piggyback on that, I think, because as I said when we first started talking, I started into the nutrition industry. Well, I was going to say late. It wasn't late, but actually becoming the nutritionist, right? Going to school and learning about it. I studied it for years and years and years. But when I decided, okay, I want to really know what I'm talking about and know how to know what I'm talking about, right? Think critically about it. It was a surprise and an exciting surprise. But then, the last 10 years, all of the things that have come from making that decision to step into, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I love, I'm tired of doing all the things for everybody else, this is what I'm going to do. And it's fascinating how amazing and hard and gratifying and scary and all of these things that it is. And then also when it comes to this show, I had you on the show, so we've been 5 years now. I probably had you in the first year, maybe the first year and a half. Yeah. And so thinking back to that point and where you were in life and where you are now and just growing like crazy and changing the world, doing amazing things, it's fascinating. It's so fun. So I'm super grateful for all of the goodness and the change, good and bad, right? It's the good and the bad both that help us to grow. So yeah, super excited. So let's jump in. Let's talk about you. Give a little bit of a, what is your story and how is it that you've come to where you were when we met a few years ago and then to what you're doing now, which is so big and so needed?
Yeah, so the story of how I came into this industry in the first place really started in high school and university, and a little bit, even several years ago when I was really struggling with being addicted to sugar. And I went to school for nutrition. I really had an incredible background, the science behind how the body works and, why you should eat a certain way, and everything was researched, yet I was still massively struggling. And so I started off with just being a general nutritionist, and what I found was, one, I wasn't compliant myself, and two, when I would write programs and start working with clients, it wasn't flowing the way I wanted to. No real change was being made truly effectively. And that's when I started leaning into understanding behavioral change. And, what does mindset have to do with all of this? It's great to know all the information and all the education that is foundational. Then what? So when I met you, I had just really started leaning into that journey a little bit more of understanding, you know, the science behind the human and, you know, the psychology behind nutrition. And fast forward to today, where I've co-founded a program called RenewRx, and it's a patient app and it's a provider dashboard, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Our program is based off of understanding human behavior and truly what it takes to make behavioral changes. Without that, you are, you know, just reading from a textbook, and it feels like I'm in school talking to a student that really isn't not necessarily wanting to learn, but I'm not reaching them in a very effective way. So it's an incredible program. We have been able to do so much pairing the nutritional science plus the behavior change has completely changed everything about this program and about how we approach our clients, and just such truly incredible outcomes from this program.
Amazing. And so is this so you said for patients, is it for all patients, or it's specific, right?
It's very specific. So right now RenewRx is working with women with gestational or type 2 diabetes in pregnancy. And we work with the clinic. So the way it works, very typically, because everyone is different, there's a high expectation on doctors, nurse practitioners to, you know, dive in and really understand nutrition and educate all the patients on nutrition as well. As like patients don't understand that a typical nurse practitioner or doctor will get 4 hours, 10 hours,
maybe
5 hours maybe of nutrition.
Yeah.
And with something like, again, diabetes and pregnancy, it is heavily influenced on what you put into your body, how you move, how you manage your stress, sleep, all of it, like a lot of things that, again, are not taught in medical school.
Right.
So what we've created is this ancillary program that can work in tandem with doctors' offices so that the patient gets the medical care that they deserve and a more in-depth understanding of how they can make the changes, the nutrition and lifestyle changes.
Awesome. So let's dig into basics a little bit, you know, because one of the things that you said was those who are struggling with diabetes, type 2 diabetes during pregnancy, or gestational diabetes. So talk about, is there a difference? What are the differences so people can understand?
Yeah, absolutely. So type 2 diabetes in pregnancy is, you know, you've been diagnosed with type 2 and then you get pregnant, right? So it is very similar in terms of what you have to manage and control. However, you've already been diagnosed with type 2, so it's not, for a lot of the women that I've seen, it's not as scary of an experience because you knew about the diagnosis, you've been monitoring the diagnosis, and now you've gotten pregnant. Gestational diabetes is very different in terms of how you find out. So you take a 1-hour glucose test where you go to the doctor's office and you drink this truly, for lack of better words, disgusting sugary drink. And you have to sit there for an hour and get your blood drawn. Then you're either told that you've passed or that you've failed. If you fail, you have to book another test and you have to drink another sugary drink that I've been told has the same amount of sugar of 3 Cokes. Don't quote me on that, but when I heard that, I'm like, that is just ridiculous. Anyways, and from there, you either pass or you were told you failed again. So even, you know, that language of you failed is extremely hard on anyone. But that is the first, typically the first step. And, you know, general OBs are general OBs. So when something like this happens where the patient now is diagnosed with gestational diabetes, the OB must, you know, refer them off to a specialist. A lot of the time, it's simply we're gonna refer you. Here's a glucometer to prick your finger, and truly that's it. And not in a negative way. Just that's how the flow is. So now these women are truly like upset and nervous and anxiety ridden because they've failed a test twice. They have gestational diabetes. What is gestational diabetes? Some women that I jump on a call with, they've done their own research. Other women completely are just, they have absolutely no idea. And then from there, it's you know, getting a call from the referral, the specialist clinic, and getting their appointments, and it's just extremely chaotic. So where RenewRx supports these clinics, these specialist clinics, is the second that they're referred to the clinic, they get an appointment with RenewRx that day or the day after. So this mom or mom to be can talk with someone as soon as humanly possible so that they can ease their anxiety and let them know they have a path. This is not something that needs to be super scary or overwhelming. And I've been doing a lot of these first-hand calls. I cannot tell you how many women jump on the call and are just, 12 out of 10 anxiety, feeling so bad, feeling like they did something wrong, when truly gestational diabetes really has to do with the placental hormones. And by the end of the call, they're feeling so much better. It's what I'm finding, and the reason why I love our program so much, is we have the space and capacity to give these women a voice and a space just to let everything out, and a professional response in terms of what's actually going on, because Google and TikTok and Reddit, like all of those are sources that can be highly confusing.
For sure. I think so. I have two thoughts. I think my first question though is what I would love is for you to dig into gestational diabetes and the placental hormones, because I think that most people don't know the difference. It's, they're afraid they've been eating wrong, right? It's all of these wrong things. You've been doing the wrong things, just like you said, and failing, and which is, what we also know that stress is going to increase blood glucose. And so we're just exacerbating the problem with telling women that they're failing or they're not doing something right, and then they're trying to take care of their new baby that they have, that's growing in them. And so I want to talk about the placental hormones, but I think a quick comment first is the fact that you have the capability, the capacity, and the intentionality behind spending time with these women. And that's the thing that I'm learning more and more. I work with conventional medical doctors to bring in nutrition services, and what I know is when you go in, not to the fault of the doctor, and of course I know you're in Canada, we're in the States, but there's some similarities there where when insurance is involved, I think so anyway, but when insurance is involved, the time that you get with your provider is 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? It's such a short amount of time versus with you, with me, with anybody who is not insurance based, right? You can take the time.
So we're actually insurance based, and I can get into that a little bit more, but we've leveraged. That's amazing. We've leveraged what's already being used out there, which is so incredible. That, to your point, we wanted to make this as seamless as possible to the patients to not have to pay out of pocket as much as possible, because again, you never know what the deductibles going to be or the copay, right? But what our goal is to have that first meeting with these women so that they show up to their specialist appointment so much more relaxed and knowing what's going on and not so anxiety ridden, because they only have so much time on a call.
Yep.
And when you're able to jump on a call with a specialist and be very focused and knowing what's going on, it's time so much better spent.
Yeah.
So,
oh, for sure. It's a game changer.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that we, like RenewRx, we do not take business away from the doctor.
Right.
We make so that the patient can show up in their best way, so that as an MFM, as a specialist doctor, you can show up to your patient and give them medical advice and support that you went to school for.
Right.
So it's it's been so incredible to see the synergy there.
Well, and it's so smart that you are able to do the insurance route, because what we're seeing now is a lot of these hybrid models where, yes, we can do insurance when we can, and we can do cash based when we can, and then bringing in these apps is amazing. So let's do this real quick though. I want to dig into the placental hormones. I want to know more about that. I'm sure others do too.
Absolutely. So this is something I didn't know when I was pregnant, which would have been cool to know. When you were growing a baby, and the placenta is like its own being inside of you. So it has its own hormones, it has its own metabolism, and depending again on genetics and there is a little bit like with previous lifestyle that can cause the placenta to be a little bit more upset. But really it has to do with how the placenta is being built and how it grows along with the baby. It's something that you can't control. The hormones can cause a ton of stress on the body, and really, for lack of better words, like absorb all the sugar that you're consuming and leaving none for the mom. And basically, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin is what gets the sugar from the blood into your cells. And what's happening is the placenta and the hormones from the placenta are causing so much stress that your pancreas simply cannot keep up. Now, it can be influenced by, well, you mentioned stress, which is, I have so many case studies that it just would blow your mind in terms of when they're stressed and need a good meal, and then not stressed and need a donut, and it's just unbelievable what stress does. But it's influenced by stress, it's influenced by movement, what you eat, how you eat it, and also sleep. The only thing that we don't love to talk about is sleep during this phase of life. There's so much research to show, especially in the third trimester, the body is actively keeping you awake to prepare you for the baby to come, which I usually am so grateful for my body and what it's doing, but that I'm like, excuse me. like a couple more months of please. But yeah, so the three major things that we focus on is nutrition, movement, and managing stress, because we're not going to talk about being stress-free.
Right. Well, I mean, you can't, right? I mean, you can't just tell people don't be stressed, because that's going to stress you out more, because there's so much to be stressed about.
Exactly. And like you said, when we're able to, the whole goal of the program is to get each patient to genuinely feel that I am doing everything that I can to control this diagnosis. When that happens, that's when we really see stress start to dissipate, because when things are out of your control, it's a lot easier to let go of when you have a good coach with you, and that's really the goal of the program. And this is where I love, this is where I guess holistic and medicine really come together. When you're doing everything possible in terms of nutrition and movement and stress, and your body is still very resistant, and you're not producing enough insulin, that's when insulin is needed, and that's when it's not scary, or I don't think it should be scary to take insulin during this diagnosis, because there's so much that you're in control of, and you're doing everything, and you should feel just really confident that medicine can take over at this point.
Can you tell me what the impact of gestational diabetes is on later in life? So I think on the baby, and then later in life.
Yeah, uncontrolled gestational diabetes can be very scary. So, you know, a lot of babies over the 10-pound mark. You know, a lot of complications with baby, a lot of complications with mom, and that's something that we've been tracking on our program as well, because with controlled blood sugar levels, it's beautiful. It's like very close, if not exactly like a normal pregnancy, especially with the birth weights that we've seen. 70% of women that get diagnosed with gestational diabetes go on to developing type 2 diabetes within the next 10 years. That's a pretty staggering statistic, and this is where the program that we've created, like, we're not just focusing on you're pregnant right now, we're focusing on tools that you can keep in your back pocket for the rest of your life. Tools that I still use in my life, and I track my blood sugars with a continuous glucose monitor, just like we have with the patients with RenewRx, and it's just so fascinating to see how effective these small changes and modifications can be to what you're already eating in order to balance your blood sugar levels out. The one thing program is what we call it. We really focus on like one thing at a time and working with what you're doing already, not creating this brand new program out of the blue, so you have to shop a different way, prep a different way, feed your family a different way. That does not work, and it's been so incredible to see a lot of these women go into postpartum feeling so confident about being able to stick to the changes that they've already made.
Yeah. Gosh, I had a question for you. Can't think of what it was. So I think the one of the things that I was thinking, so I have a client currently who is of mostly healthy weight, right? A couple of pounds, not a big deal. I think maybe 10 pounds. So, and she has already gone through, she's had both of her children and had, you know, normal weight going into, so, but also had then gestational diabetes during both. And now she's coming to me, she's like, you know, it's in my family, but I'm pushing, you know, pre-diabetes, you know, what can I do now? And so that's what made me think of, you know, how is it, you know, because we expect for people to be of a, you know, higher weight, and many are, but some aren't, you know, to when you start to struggle with these blood sugar issues. And so I think having the understanding that there are differences, right, and other ways of managing, and then not laying blame, right?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
You know, the worst thing to do is press blame. The best thing to do is understand, what do I need to do moving forward in a way that's going to work for me.
Yeah.
I'm a really big believer, and like no judgment. We don't have room for it. We don't have time for it. What we have time for is to get educated and figure out what is the best pathway for me. I'm very hard on that, because I mean, I've been coaching for over 13 years now, and it just doesn't work. When you blame yourself, you're like, I say feel the feelings and let's move on. Because you don't want to waste any more time.
No, it's not worth it at all. What I love about the continuous glucose monitors, and I have not used one myself. I have lots of clients and lots of family, or, you know, friends who have other clinicians. I'm going to be doesn't really matter. But point is, I want to and I need to, because what I know is there are some things that are going to spike blood sugar for one person, and other things, and the same thing may not spike it for the other person. And so this is where we get into what is beautifully individual about people. And we can't sit here and say, just because we tell you not to eat rice or not to eat oatmeal, some people it's going to spike and some people it's not. And we have to know our bodies. I mean, this is why, you know, the technology around all of this is so fascinating, because I am different than everybody else, and I'm not a sheet of paper that tells me this is going to spike my glucose, right?
Exactly. One of the things that is so mind-boggling to me are lentils. You know, lentils are, yes, they're they have carbs. They have so much protein, so much fiber, and a couple of the clients that I've had, they just like skyrocket with lentils.
Yeah.
The real cool thing though is, and I've seen this time and time again, it's how are you enjoying those carbs? Because if you are eating a bowl of lentils, yeah, you're gonna spike. If you're eating an incredibly gorgeous salad or sauteed veggies with, you know, some goat cheese or Parmesan cheese beforehand, and, you know, and then you have a little bit of protein, and then you're having the lentils, like, then your blood sugar spike is going to be so massively different.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
And this is where I get so excited to educate people, because a lot of people intuitively think I have to change everything, and I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of miscommunication out there as well. You know, rice is one of those things that, specifically glucose wise, is typically very terrible on glucose. So the statement is just don't eat rice. And do you know how traumatic that is to someone who eats rice 2 out of the 3 meals a day?
Yeah.
Like, we're not thinking about the human. We are not understanding that they're probably going to get rid of the rice for a couple days. They're going to get super frustrated, super overwhelmed. They're going to continue eating the rice, potentially not even tell you, and, you know, not really be able to get this under control because they don't feel like they're in control. That's really where this program truly shines, is understanding the science, the research behind everything, and then looking at the person and understanding, what do we have to adjust, what do we have to understand, and how do we execute this for you? Yeah.
Yeah, the individualization of it is so key. I find often, you know, I have a few right now who are coming to me from just no understanding, no foundation of what is right and what is wrong, because we're so confused about health and nutrition and what's right and what's wrong. And really all we think about is the food that we eat, as opposed to how we're utilizing the food, as opposed to all of the lifestyle stuff that makes such a difference in how we utilize the food that we put into our body, right? And so it's amazing when, for one, you start to open people's minds a little bit to what is true health, and that maybe it's not as scary as they think it is, right? It's still delicious, it's still fun, but then what are the other factors that play a role in you being able to, well, literally utilize the food that you're eating? Because if you're stressed, you're not going to, highly stressed, you know, you're not going to utilize the food that you're eating. And so so I know you've got the One Thing program, and maybe that's just what we do, is dig into that a little bit more. So, you know, the tips and the tricks and the things that you're seeing with your own patients, as you're moving through these programs, that you can start to give people who are watching some good ideas of what all of this looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the One Thing program, what coaches typically do is connect with their clients on twice a month. We find that has been so supportive in staying on top of the diagnosis versus constantly reacting to it. And each time that they meet with their coach, they're reviewing their blood sugars, reviewing their food, reviewing what their lifestyle has been like, and determining what one thing they need to focus on in order to progress in a very positive way. This one thing can be as simple or as in-depth as the client needs, and it's about digging into that as well. So the first one thing that we talk to about with every single client when they begin this program are carbohydrates. One, because it's part of standard of care, and two, because it is out of all the nutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats, it's going to manipulate your blood sugars in the most crazy way.
Yes.
So we surround a one thing based on carbohydrates. Specifically with diabetes and pregnancy, there is a threshold at each meal that you should focus on consuming. And it's basically taking, 45 grams of carbs, because what the heck does that mean? And I don't want every client to have to weigh out everything that they're eating.
Right.
But we make it as simple as possible, our app has AI that tells you for the meal that you have approximately how many carbs you're consuming, so it takes away that, but also we want them to have this understanding of, you know, a quarter of a plate or, you know, a fistful or something like that, where they have some sort of understanding that's not a number that has to be weighed out. And then from there, it's understanding what are their favorite carbs and when should you be eating those carbs, because the type of carbs and the timing of the carbs are just, again, they can determine whether or not you're going to go out of range in a meal or stay within range. The reason why we always ask every single client, what do you prefer first, is because typically we can work with what they're already doing and make minor changes and modifications, making this one thing program seem extremely doable. We will add secondary or tertiary things to their program if they are, you know, go-getters and, you know, staying really focused. And however, it's really focusing on, this is the one thing primarily that we will be focusing on over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Our coaches connect with each of their clients throughout the week as well, checking in, making sure everything is actually going the way that we talked it through. If there are any blockers, we can change it right away. And yeah, just making it so that they don't feel like they're alone and they feel like there's actual action that can take place, not just this education on you need 45 grams of carbs at dinner and the puck stopping there.
Yeah. Do you find that people are confused about carbohydrates?
Yeah. Oh, completely. You know, fruit. I often hear like people don't understand that fruit is a carb, and we usually always go over the 4 categories of carbs. You have your grains, you have your fruits, you have your starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, and then you have your beans, lentils, and chickpeas and legumes. So there's 4 different categories within the carb category, and you know that specific explanation really does open their understanding to, ooh, maybe I am eating more carbs than I thought, because I thought carbs were just like rice and bread and pasta and things like that. So again, the focus isn't to bombard, the focus is to really like zero in on what they've already given us for data. So like I mentioned before, or I don't know if I mentioned it, the way this program works is the patient wears a CGM and they track the food that they're consuming. The way that our app works is every time that you track a meal, so you take a photo of your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, our app will automatically pull the CGM data into the app so that the patient doesn't have to do any extra work on collecting that data. And the really cool thing about that is when I click on a food photo of anyone that I'm working with, I see right there that this is what they ate and this is what their body did. And that information alone is so supportive in being able to tweak and modify that meal specifically versus saying they have to change everything. So it's really cool to get all that data and have it become extremely actionable.
That is amazing. And you know, it's empowering to have the data when you can actually see what's going on and you start to understand the why behind all of it, behind how you feel, behind how you're motivated during the day, behind how you're going to the bathroom, right? I mean, it's all of these things that you can put together and you understand the why behind your body. And I mean, that's what I tell anybody I work with is if you understand the why, then you're in partnership, right, with your body. I think we've gotten to this place where we're so disconnected, and we don't listen to the communication that the body is trying to give us. We're like, oh, okay, well, I just need to go take an Advil, right? Or I just need to go do this, instead of taking to heart that our bodies are always talking to us. And to be able to dig into that communication and have a better understanding through things like CGM, through things like lab testing, those are the things that are just super exciting, because then it helps us, you and me, practitioners, to help them understand this is your body, take it, love it. You are in partnership together. This is not a fight, because I think that sometimes that's what we get. You know, I feel terrible. Why does my body hate me? And I eat this food and my body hates me, right? That's not what it is. It's bringing you together as a team.
I could not agree more. You know, one of the things that I do explain is staying on top of your health is, especially in the environment that we live in, is a part-time job, because it's when you go with the flow of what society is doing, you are not staying on top of your health. So acknowledging that a little bit of work needs to be put in and not all at once is so important for me to speak into, because we also as a society have become like, we want things now, we want things
very much
easy as possible, which is very human of us. And time and time and time again, our bodies constantly say, no, you gotta put work into this, and I'm here for you. The second that you put a little bit of time into me, you're gonna see that I'm gonna respond beautifully. So I always find that super exciting when I'm working with someone and they see that like aha moment.
Oh, it's the best.
That's why I keep doing what I'm doing, because it's just so beautiful.
It really is. I feel the same way, and I say that all the time, because you can watch the light bulb go off, right? And it's so fun. One of my favorite things is when somebody comes to me and they're like, I cheated. One, you didn't cheat. Like, it's not that big a deal. But I have this example, it's a really recent example of one of my clients who was doing really well. Everything about what and he's a man, but it's still, it goes across sexes, right? But everything that he's been doing has been just on target, right? So many things are so good. So one weekend is like, well, I went out, I had friends here, and you know, we did big dinner Friday and Saturday night, and he was off for a week, like really off for an entire week. I never ever want people to feel bad, but I'm going to tell you, when you're doing super well and something throws you off, you know what it is, you figure it out, and it helps you have that deeper understanding of what it is that your body is trying to tell you, right? It's not about what you can and can't do, because you're going to make decisions based off of the knowledge that you have and what your body's telling you. And so now he's like, next time I know, maybe I don't go quite so overboard. I can still go and have, you know, do things that, you know, I know are probably not the best decision, but you're making decisions based on now what you know, and good solid education about your body and how it's gonna, what it's gonna tell you, right?
I love that. I love when mistakes are made, because we get to learn from them. And what I find is a lot of the women that we're working with, they have this lack of confidence in themselves. And it's almost like, you know, if I fail, everyone else is gonna see that, everyone's gonna judge me. And the truth is, everyone is truly, genuinely putting a lot of effort into thinking about themselves. So the more quickly I can get the people that I'm working with to understand that this is a journey, and your biggest competition is you learning what works and what doesn't, and what your body loves and what your body doesn't love, that's where you're like, you just start winning every time you're learning. And the confidence piece is, it's something where I'm very much into the psychological piece behind health and nutrition. When you are feeling really bad about yourself, the time and energy that you're going to spend to improve your health is probably going to be quite low. So it's I've noticed a really big connection between just being confident, understanding that it's okay. It's actually great to fail. I love failing. I want to start this thing where when a student fails, we celebrate, like a party or something, because it's in society it's very different than what it is in reality, which is a learning experience.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think, you know, as we start to step into, you know, we go through the hard stuff, we start to step into the confidence, we start to step into freedom, right? I mean, it's freedom, it's health freedom. I think that that's something that you talk about, and knowing what it is that we can do to optimize is freedom, right? And the knowledge is freedom. It is really beautiful. It is. Totally agree with you. So what was it? So as you start, I guess I'm curious about how you went from what you were doing, working with, I'm going backwards a little bit, but I'm still super curious. You were working with sort of general nutrition. Did you, and then, the mindset stuff, what brought you into this world of gestational diabetes?
Well, early days of RenewRx, we were wanting to really focus on the culinary side of medicine, like food is medicine. Mm-hmm. And the founder of RenewRx, Carrie Cow, we connected, and we were creating this journey to get people really understanding, with what you have, how can you really use food as medicine. And then from there, we really wanted to understand, what population are we going to serve. We did a lot of market research, and diabetes is what came up, because it is very decently well known that what you eat affects diabetes in a positive or negative way. Mm. And we wanted to focus on type 2, which has been proven that you can reverse type 2 diabetes in so many different ways. And I love that so many more studies are coming out about this. But oh my goodness, the challenge that we had with getting enough people to talk to us about their journey, there's so much shame around type 2 diabetes. It is so sad. And then we were thinking, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to make a very strong impact as quickly as possible, so that the company can grow, and then we can, go into other areas. And what we found was in pregnancy. So we've all, my co-founder, Carrie, and I, we're both moms. And when we're, again, being pregnant, you just want to do whatever you can in the best way possible. Like, you have the most attention to your health, you want to learn the most, and that's where we really started niching, is that market, because we were able to have real conversations with all of these women, and understanding what their pain points were, and understanding how we could be supportive, and that's where we developed the program from. So it is very niche, the population that we are working with, because there is a massive gap that we are definitely filling. However, this program is so unique and flexible in a way that we could be serving much larger populations.
So I assume that's the goal.
Yeah.
Good.
Once we become established and people know who we are, and people are coming to us, and really getting the word out there that, the way I see it is, this world is pretty intense to live in this world. It's not easy.
Yes.
And to be hard on yourself and shameful and judgmental, we don't have time for that.
No.
Let's just, how do we become our best selves? How do we ask for help when we need it? How do we keep showing up and constantly create a better world around us? I know that sounds cheesy, but it's definitely part of the mission of RenewRx.
Let's talk a little bit about the business side of things, because I'm super intrigued with all of this, and I just love it. So, when did you launch?
So we started a pilot with Pediatrics, which is the largest MFM clinic enterprise in the U.S. for high-risk pregnancies, and specifically in Colorado, so obstetrics of Colorado. Mm-hmm. We started a pilot in the summer, end of summer, and really tested out this program, seeing, is this effective? Are we supporting the women? Are we supporting the practitioners from being overworked and, you know, constantly having to answer nutrition questions that they genuinely don't know?
Yeah.
Are we supporting the practice? Are we able to get them this extra income that we told them by giving, basically how we work is from all of the work that our company does, we revenue share with the clinic, basically, as I would say it's if we were renting a room in their clinic and giving them rent space, but basically it's a referral, and thank you so much for trusting us with your patients.
Yep.
And also supporting these clinics. I was not under the impression that a lot of these clinics are severely cash flow negative, because with pregnancy specifically, the way reimbursements work in insurance is you only get paid out at the end of a pregnancy once the baby's born. That's 10 months of services that you have to float. And
really? I did not know that.
So on top of what they're already getting, which is, you know, the work that they've done for the 10 months, we're able to create another revenue stream for them, a monthly revenue stream for these clinics, so that they aren't cash flow negative. They can do amazing things with the clinic. They can hire more people, whatever they need to do. It's truly this incredible, we call it the win-win-win-win. So the patient wins because they get the care that they deserve. The practitioner wins because they truly get to focus on what they learned in school, the medical side of diabetes and pregnancy. The practice wins because there's extra income, and the payers, they win because our patients have a lot less complications. And I was looking it up, or someone about a NICU stay is around like $16,000 out of insurance or something like that. So we're supporting so many different areas, and also, you know, we get to grow an incredible business. It's honestly, we like to call it a unicorn, but basically we were able to prove that, and now we are looking to expand and honestly looking for other clinics that would be excited to learn and understand exactly what we do in more depth and how this really can impact them in a positive way.
Awesome. So cool. So how did you get in with the insurance companies?
So it's using CPT codes that are typically used, and like a lot of the backlash that we will initially get is, you know, these are new CPT codes and these are not. We are able to use them in a very strategic way, where the practice doesn't have to put in any extra work. That's the work that we do on the RenewRx side.
Okay. So
it's and the cost out of pocket from the patients themselves is extremely minimal. It sounds too good to be true, but I can confidently say that it's not, because we have our pilot and we have all the data. We're actually publishing our data as well, which is super exciting.
When do you publish? Do you know?
Ooh, this summer.
Awesome. Let me know. I would love to see it.
I will give.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. How many coaches do you have right now?
Right now we have 3, and we are aggressively growing. So I'm in the middle of a very intense interview process, and we're just, as we expand, we're just gonna grow and grow the company. The really cool thing is, each coach can see a significant amount of patients, making this scalable, and obviously technology is scalable as well, and we're leveraging AI in the most unique ways that truly support and take the weight off of the patients and what they have to do to manage this diagnosis.
So can you dig deeper into that? What does that mean? How are you using AI for this?
Yeah, so like, I don't know if I mentioned it, we have the, like, so when our clients are inputting their food, we have AI technology that's telling them this is how much carbs you're eating approximately, because again, nothing is real. But simply that piece where it's telling you have approximately, you're eating approximately 30 grams of carbs at this meal takes a load off. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with women saying, it's required that you count carbs, and they almost, if not start bursting into tears because it's just another thing.
Right.
We are currently, we are in the works of pushing that even further. So when you hover your phone, the camera over the meal, it'll right there tell you approximately how much you're consuming, which is even cooler. So that's one way, and then another way is really understanding. So we understand the impact that human to human has. So there's this incredible study that came out saying if someone downloads an app to improve anything, so like if they want to improve their health, they want to improve their focus, they want to improve anything, there's an 11% chance that in 4 weeks that they will still be using that and on track. With an accountability partner, which is exactly what our coaches are, that 11% goes to 95%. So we want to make sure that the coaches continue to show up in the best way they possibly can, and we want to leverage AI in other aspects of the app where so my clients will message me, how much protein is in a chicken breast? Typically it's like anywhere between 30 to 45, and I know that, but that is a very, very standard question that, AI can answer and research and pull. And there's, I don't know if you're really into AI or not, but there are some scary, beautiful things coming out where it feels a lot more human, and there is no human behind it. So it closes the gaps, so that we want to leverage AI to close the gaps so that the client feels, okay, I'm getting the ultimate support here. And 2, to continuously collect information about that person so that the coach can get a deeper understanding of how they can show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
The more information I can have on someone, the more I know how to show up. If I know that they had a massively stressful day before they show up to the call, like in the evening with me, I'm going to show up a lot differently than me knowing that they had the best day of their life, So we are very excited to see where that goes, because it's only going to make this experience like more human and more streamlined. Yeah,
I think it is a great combination, call it combination or hybrid, to incorporate what you said, the scary beautiful thing of AI, because I'm with you. I use it all the time, and we know that it has the capability somewhere to not be great, but it has such capability of doing such great things for improving outcomes, and like you said, having both true human interaction and then the AI together, it's exponential. It truly is.
I agree.
Yeah. So I'm super excited for you. I'm excited for what you're doing. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to make sure that people know about?
I mean, the one thing that I would say is with just the understanding that this program is truly beautiful for anyone. One of the populations that we are starting to work with is Medicaid, and in women that are in food deserts. I was very unaware of what a food desert was until one of my clients told me that they do their grocery shopping at a Dollar Tree or Dollar Store or something.
Oh goodness.
And that was so eye-opening. That was such a beautiful moment of, all right, it would be so offensive for me to say, make a chicken quinoa kale salad, right? Like and this is where we meet every client where they're at, and we work to get them the resources that they need to thrive. that's the most important piece of, I believe, what we're doing is truly supporting the population and changing, the next decade of moms and babies moving forward.
Well, and that gets me to probably something that we should have talked about earlier, but it's so true, because what you're doing is not just changing the trajectory for those two. You're changing the trajectory for generations, right? I mean, it's this is the epigenetics of all that we're talking about, coming together, that what you're doing when you are helping mom through what she's dealing with, helping baby, what baby's dealing with, right? So if we have gestational diabetes under control, we have birth weights under control, we have the life of that child better controlled. I'm not going to say under control, they're still kids, but but then it moves through the generations, right? This is health for the future. I mean, and what I love about all of this too is the control, and this is what I really love to talk about also, but it's so many people, but I think women feel like they've lost control, right? I've lost control, I don't know what to do. You see it when people come to you who are struggling. You see that they feel like they've lost this control. And what you're doing and bringing health back to people and helping them understand their bodies, this is giving them, it's showing them that they did not lose control, right? They didn't lose control in the first place, but showing them you have the power, this is you, and then what you're doing as an individual has the ability to change the trajectory of the future. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what we want the message to be.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad I said it for you. Well, this is wonderful. Tell people how, especially, so you're still in Canada, yes?
Yes, and we're based in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
So I'm actually going there. I go there every few months, and looking to move down there as well, because this is just such an incredible. Again, this is just it's becoming so much bigger than we ever imagined, which is amazing. So the best way to connect would be through our website, RenewRx.health. You can also connect with me through email, Kelly@RenewRx.health. So it's RenewRx.health, which is very, consistent throughout.
Yeah.
And you can follow us on social media, RenewRx_health. And RenewRx I think we're just RenewRx on LinkedIn, which we are quite active, especially with our professional connections with B2B businesses. And I'm always open to answering any questions, providing more clarity, collaborating, and just growing this incredible business as best we can.
Awesome. I love it. Good job. So proud of you. Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, this has been a really, really fun show. I love it when we're bringing on people who are truly obviously passionate, right? We always have people who are coming on who are super excited and passionate, but bringing something new to the table, right? This is the cutting edge. This is the stuff that is the game-changing stuff, and that's I just think it's amazing. I don't know, what do you say about it? It's just amazing. So thank you so much for being here. Would love to stay connected. Let me know when you're in town, and we'll go have coffee or something. So
I would love that.
Awesome. All right, everybody, reach out. Follow RenewRx. They're doing great things. Reach out to Kelly if you have questions, and just follow them. Follow what they're doing, and making a big difference in the world. So, of course, you can find me, tastelifenutrition.com. You can find us here every Thursday, Taste Life Nutrition Radio and podcast, streaming live on kuhsdenver.com. You can always go to the website and fill out the assessment that I have. That way, I can see how I might be able to help or how I might be able to refer. My goal is always just to be a resource, whether it's through the show, through through my company or through the people who I know who are out there doing awesome stuff. So let us know if you have questions, anything that we can help with, and we'll see you next week, 10 a.m. on Thursday. Thanks, everybody, and thank you so much.